This is Your City Could Be Better, because it could be. I'm David Plotz. If you love your city and still complain about it, you're in the right place. Jacques Cousteau said that people protect what they love, and that is the guiding vision of the Human Access Project, a Portland, Oregon organization that has radically and magnificently changed how Portlanders perceive and use the Willamette River, the river that runs through the heart of the city. Once highly polluted and even shunned, the Willamette is now a place for boating and tubing and partying and swimming. And that is largely because, or significantly because, the Human Access Project made Portlanders love their river. Today on Your City Could Be Better, I am joined by CityCast Portland host Claudia Meza to talk about this river renaissance. Hello, Claudia. How are you?
Hey, David. How's it going?
So, Claudia, how do you and your neighbors use the Willamette now?
Well, a lot of Portlanders, especially like born and raised Portlanders, still have a lot of baggage with the Willamette because the Willamette was at one point so polluted that it's like a generational learning that has happened, that even though things have changed, they're still like, my grandma told me about the fish that went belly up. You know what I mean? Like the river was red and it stank and like it just straight poop in the water. And so that's been so hard to erase from like Portlanders' memories. So HAP, or Human Access Project, has done a ton, but I gotta tell you, it started, even before the Human Access Project. It's taken like 100 years for not only like public opinion to change, but for policy to actually move forward. It took so long for, this kind of new way of thinking about the river to sort of solidify in Portlanders, but there's still a lot of people who are not down with what's been going on. But yeah, there's been a lot of improvements.
Okay, well, we're going to get to those improvements. I brought you on here to talk about the improvements, but I guess we do have to linger on the bad old days, on the stink, on the dead fish. So why did people stop using the Willamette for recreation and for swimming back literally a century ago?
Okay, so sewage, basically, industrial runoff from like paper and lumber mills, like quite literally animal processing plant stuff, like literal blood and guts. And like this whole, the belly up with the fish, that was real. Like the oxygen level was so low that you could see just dead fish in certain areas. And because of all this, the city actually banned swimming in the river by 1924. And before that ban, the river had a very, very, very strong swimming culture. Like there was even commerce built around it. Portlanders enjoying the river, like water taxis, bathhouses, dance halls, food, swim clubs, all that stuff. But basically, once the fish started dying and the river literally
that was a clue.
Yeah. And then it started stinking. Portlanders abandoned the waterfront. And then this is the effed up part, was that the infrastructure that was built around the river was based on the ew, don't let it touch me school of thought. So they actually put like an actual freeway alongside the river. So people couldn't actually even have access to the river. So that's crazy, and that's why if you come to Portland, you're like, well, there's this beautiful river. There's not a lot of going on the waterfront. And there's a reason for that. It's because of all of this. It's taking so long.
Okay. So what happened? When did it begin to change? I presume you have to both clean up the river and then you have to change mines. So how did they start to clean up the river? When did that happen? And how did the mines start to get changed?
I'm so glad you asked. There was this group called the Waterfront for People. It's a group in the 60s that organized like a picnic on this sliver of land between the river and that freeway I was telling you about. And they were basically like, look, it's a park. And that coupled with like, there was this young journalist by the name of Tom McCall, who produced a TV documentary called Pollution in Paradise. And he exposed severe air and like water pollution in Oregon, particularly focusing on the Willamette River. And this documentary basically was like a wake up call. Like a lot of people, and this is the 60s, people were just like, wait, here in this river? So it actually launched, David, this is crazy. It launched his political career and he ended up becoming governor of Oregon. And then with that platform, he was able to pass like landmark legislation and then subsequent policies that changed public opinion and helped loosen up like all that red tape to actually make what then became the Big Pipe Project doable. And that is what made the river swimmable, was the Big Pipe Project, which
what
I don't know.
Big Pipe?
Big pipe. It's a lot of big pipes. True story. So in 2011, that's when like the project ended, but it was 20 years before that it started, and it was like $1.4 billion of like tax money. Essentially what it does is like these big like underwater conduits or pipes that take all of the overflow rainfall and sewage and like diverts it away from the river. And now I think it like diverts like 94% of any sewage runoff, because that was happening. We're a rainy city. It just was like going to the river, you know?
Okay. So safety is not the same thing as activity. So you get a pipe, you make it safer, you make it less disgusting. But what we want to talk about actually is really the work that the Human Access Project and others are doing, which is to take the mindset that people have about the river and their fear of the river and their century-long distaste for it and turn it into enthusiasm for the river. So what is the Human Access Project? What is HAP? How did it come to be, and what has it been doing?
So since 2010, the Human Access Project, which was, by the way, was founded by Willie Levinson, who never calls himself the founder. He always calls himself the ringleader. And he just recently retired from his post. I think one of the big first things that he did was like the Big Float event, which was in 2011. He just was like, we're all going to get in the water and we're going to have like, it's going to be a party. There's going to be a DJ. There's going to be food. Essentially, we're going to create a fun scene. And he and a bunch of other people went in the water just to be like, look, we're not dying. We're okay. It is perfectly safe. It is as clean as like all the other. And okay, backing up, David. It's not that the whole Willamette River was considered dirty. Literally just the stretch by Portland, because we're a city and we were doing a bunch of bad stuff, but like further south, people were dunking in the river and there was no stigma around it. So he was just like, look, people over there are doing it. We can do it here too. And there's actually like, we're monitoring the river. Like we can go to a website and look at, the parts per million or whatever. Like we're pretty safe. So that's what he started doing. And he started just making it fun and like a scene and just silly. And like he would wear these little Speedos and it's just like, it was just like, I don't know, like he made it more like a Portland event, like that people wanted it to be part of.
And then how did it morph from there? Is there just the Big Float or is there more going on now?
I mean, the Big Float was essentially his way of getting like friends, or like more people to be interested in what he was doing. And since then, the Human Access Project has like created 2 new beaches, has opened up 6 swimming areas. They've worked with the city to make safer docks, including like the park that I go to, Cathedral Park.
Now, do people, it's Saturday afternoon, it's a hot day.
There's always someone in the river. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's always someone swimming in the river. Like when it's a hot day, you're going to see them. They're out there.
But is it someone, or is it
Tons.
You and your friends are like, let's go swimming in the river. That'll be fun.
If you go to almost any of the swimming areas that the Human Access Project has opened, or any of the beaches, they're going to be full on a hot day. But not only that, like they still have events. They have like food carts there. There's DJs. There's like bands. It's a scene. It's really cool. And I think it's like all of this work has changed so much public opinion that now that infrastructure that I was saying that like wasn't there is slowly changing. Like now more and more people are like, what if we had saunas on the river? What if we had like,
get out.
Yeah. So that's coming. We already have some now. More are coming. What if we had like crazy, like what if there was more food available that like actually lived there? Like, what if we have tiki parties and there's beer in the boats and like, so like all this stuff is like slowly happening and making that dream come true of like Portlanders actually having access to a clean river and it being part of our city.
So you began by talking about the freeway. Is all
That's
this taking
gone.
place in areas? Oh, the freeway's
Yeah.
gone.
So that's what I'm saying is like Tom McCall is the governor, those crazy hippies. Another freeway basically happened. So what happened? It wasn't just like they were like, yeah, let's get rid of the freeway. Like another bridge, something else happened. And they're just like, do we really need this freeway? And that whole thing went away. It is now a beautiful waterfront park that has these gorgeous cherry trees, which are now like a thing that people come to see in Portland. And it's named the Tom McCall Waterfront Park.
That's amazing. So if you had to assign credit for this, how much of the credit belongs to the grassroots citizen work of the Human Access Project, and how much of it belongs to the city and county and state governments that presumably actually built and funded the infrastructure that you're talking about? The beaches, I doubt the Human Access Project built the beach.
Yeah. Well, I don't see it as like one winner. I see this as like a huge baton race that's been happening since the beginning of like probably when the city was like, we can't swim here anymore. And I'm sure then people were pissed off. And like it took so long for like that baton and for the policy making, for the people changing their minds about things, for all of that. Because you know how it is, David, like you get someone to get excited about something and then like something else happens and they stop thinking about that thing. And so I'm sure that baton was like picked up and dropped so much of just like, hey, we should maybe clean up the river. So, I mean, I don't know if there'd be like one person, but I do know that Tom McCall for sure is very much instrumental in having changed a lot of hearts and opinions on the river.
What if your entire day could happen in one place? Fiddler Club brings work, wellness, dining, and community together in the heart of Philadelphia. Members can start their morning with a workout in the 2-floor fitness club, take a swim in the indoor pool, meet a client over coffee, settle into an inspiring workspace, and finish the day with dinner and drinks. But Fiddler Club is more than its amenities. It is a welcoming community built around meaningful connections with professional panels, networking events, tastings, live entertainment, and family programming throughout the year. Whether you want to upgrade your routine, expand your network, or find a place that feels like your own, Fiddler Club is designed around the way you live. Learn more or schedule a personalized tour today at fiddlerclub.com. That's fiddlerclub.com.
Why is it good for Portland to have a river that people recreate in?
I mean, I think it's like the same for any city. I mean, one, you want that access to nature. The fact that like, oh, only rich people have pools, only rich people can like do these things. Like it's right there. Like if you have a river, there should be access to it. That's like what makes you enjoy your city. Okay, David, have you seen those amazing pictures of, I forget, it's like, of course, some like Northern European country where they literally jump into the river to swim home, and it's like a whole culture of it where they'll jump off a bridge with all of their stuff like in watertight bags, and that's how they commute to and from work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's a town in Switzerland. I think it's in Switzerland.
That's so. Could you just imagine like the quality of life that people are experiencing? Like not stuck in a car. There was a point where I was like, I'm no longer driving. I'm buying like a little boat and I'm going up and down the river. This is when I was working at a station that like worked out. I even bought a house specifically because I was like, this is going to work perfectly. Like I live 2 blocks from the boat ramp, which is public. Like this is going to be my new life. And so I don't know, like, I just think that people enjoy their life a lot more when they are able to access green spaces and of course their waterways, but also like it's going to be good for Portland economically. Like a waterfront, like a bustling waterfront brings in money and tourists. And we have a baby waterfront. It's barely getting there, you know? And so I'm really excited because there are a ton of projects that are in the works now that more and more people, like people with money, are getting invested, you know, with like changing the actual landscape of it.
There was this interesting episode you probably have not heard about in Washington, D.C., where I live, about, I don't know, maybe a year ago, involving RFK Jr.
I remember
so
this.
RFK Jr. is, you know, a much maligned and derided figure, and I certainly, you know, I'm not gonna to defend him too much, but he was widely mocked because he went for a dip in Rock Creek, which is a stream that runs right through the heart of DC through this wonderful forest that is the center of Washington, DC, is this magnificent urban forest. It's really one of the true treasures of the city. And it has a wide stream in it. And he went for a dip, I think in jeans, as he often does. And everyone was like, that's gross. That's disgusting. What's wrong with him? He was mocked and shamed. But I kind of felt like, whatever. I mean, he's a grown man. He can take his risks. B, it's a pretty clean stream. It is not pristine, but it is pretty clean. And shouldn't we be excited about somebody taking advantage of this urban nature and using this urban nature for pleasure and recreation?
I want to immediately say that I don't vouch for any of RFK's policies or viewpoints, but I agree with you. I also don't know much about that river. I just remember people being really grossed out, but I feel like that man can do almost anything, and there's going to be people being grossed out. Just the jeans alone, I would have been like, what is he doing?
Well, I think the grossed out part is what gets interesting, which is that the gap that we have in a lot of places is the gap between people's perception of the safety of a body of water and the reality of it. And
for sure.
Almost everybody in any city assumes that the body of water near them in the city is going to be filthy. And it takes like acts of like demonstrations of such as the float, and also lots of evidence for people to start to believe it and then act like, oh, this is clean. Even though the river may have been clean before that, it just takes, if people don't believe it, it's as though it's not clean at all.
Really what you should be doing, though, is like going to the local governments that monitor that water and maybe do your own research. Because I wouldn't like 100% just go off RFK doing anything as being safe. I got to tell you. Yeah.
No, but I think I guess the next question I have, and I'm going to answer the next question, which is always my last question on Your City Could Be Better, but I'm going to answer it before you do. And the question is like, what can listeners in other cities take away from this conversation to make their own city better? And I will say, like, what is interesting about what the Human Access Project did, and also what McCall did, is that that it wasn't simply the clean, it was the act of persuading people to believe in the clean. And so that's it. The media, the awareness, the kind of making it a thing is as important as the actual cleanup.
100%. Yeah. Like creating a culture rallying around this thing, you know, totally agree.
Is there anything else that listeners in other cities can do to get themselves a swimmable river?
Well, for sure, you're going to want to make sure it actually is, you know, clean and swimmable. So knowing where to start, you know, and I think that the Human Access Project, when they first started, I think they were a thorn because they would do these things, they would pressure, they would go to, you know, City Hall, all this stuff. And Willie was like, the thing that changed everything was when we started seeing each other as partners. And I feel like that is the big thing. Like, sure, creating a group, going to city council meetings, whatever, but like actually becoming partners, finding a way in to like use each other in a sense. Because like Parks and Rec, there were always people in Parks and Rec at the city that were like, that would be so cool if we had more beaches, you know? That's in their hearts.
What if your entire day could happen in one place? Fittler Club brings work, wellness, dining, and community together in the heart of Philadelphia. Members can start their morning with a workout in the 2-floor fitness club, take a swim in the indoor pool, meet a client over coffee, settle into an inspiring workspace, and finish the day with dinner and drinks. But Fittler Club is more than its amenities. It is a welcoming community built around meaningful connections with professional panels, networking events, tastings, live entertainment, and family programming throughout the year. Whether you want to upgrade your routine, expand your network, or find a place that feels like your own, Fittler Club is designed around the way you live. Learn more or schedule a personalized tour today at fittlerclub.com. That's fittlerclub.com.
All right, let's go to our word on the street or word by the river segment, our sort of bonus segment. We're doing urban dilemma. So here's an urban dilemma for you, Claudia Meza. The conflict, the mental conflict between your great local restaurants and then the rise of fantastic national fast casual chains. Here in Washington, like Cava was born in Washington, D.C. Cava, I would have Cava 9 meals out of every 10 if that were socially acceptable because it's so delicious, so fresh, so well made. But when you support a national chain, you are obviously supporting a national chain as opposed to a local restaurant that has a deeper local connection. What is your obligation to patronize or not patronize local restaurants versus national chains?
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I know in Portland, 2 things. No one's going to go to Chipotle over a local restaurant unless, like I'm sure people do Chipotles in business, but backing up, just making a wider viewpoint of like Portland and Portlanders, we have literal city ordinance where like we can't have, if you you've been to Portland. Did you see a ton of chains? We don't have a ton of chains for a reason. It's like, it's zoning. They're zoned out. They're in like certain areas, basically to give our local food community a leg up. Also, our food scene is just so strong. Like, why go to a chain when you can go to, a food cart or like, I don't know. There's just like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense here. And like, we don't have good chains. David, you're talking about Cava. You're talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, I've never heard of that chain. We have like McDonald's and like Wendy's. We do have a Chipotle, but it's just like, That
was a very smug and self-righteous answer all about how great your city is.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Maybe other cities could be better by imitating Portland and just sort of zoning the heck out of national chains so that their fast casual places do not infect the cool downtowns. And now that as you've been talking, I've been walking through my mental map of Portland and realizing, I can't remember walking past anything that felt like a chain. I can't see it in my head. So good job, Portland.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it so people can go out and eat pretty frequently and it's cheap. There's just something about keeping things local and small, Claudia Meza is the host of CityCast Portland. Thank you for coming on Your City Could Be Better, Claudia. Listen to her every weekend, every weekday, not on weekends. No, God.
Plates on CityCast Portland. Imagine if we made you do 7 days a week.
Wow. I think that's illegal, David. I'm saying it's illegal. I think it's
in Portland, it's definitely illegal.
For
Portland,
sure.
100% illegal.
We would be losing listeners. I don't think we'd be, after 7 days of me, I think people would be like, you know what?
That was enough.
We're good. Good.
5's plenty. 4 is actually okay, really.
They need 2 days off at least. At least 2 days off.
That is all for today's episode of Your City Could Be Better. We're just weekly. We're just once a week. You won't get tired of us. I am your host, David Plotz. Our producers are Aria Bracci, Priyanka Tilve, Claudia Meza, and John Notariani. Our music is by Carl Christensen. If you are enjoying the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with another conversation about how your city could be better. I'll see you at the river.